Hi, Rob Lukey with Shop Prop Realty. We're going to talk about making an offer or starting the offer process. So you can go, one of the things that you obviously can do if you're interested in writing an offer, you can always go and search on Shop Prop site. And then we have quick links on Shop Prop site that will show you a property that's listed for sale. And then if you click on the detail page of that particular thing, you'll see obviously these quick links. You can click start an offer here. That will take you to your dashboard if you've logged into it. So I can just go start an offer and it will take me to the request on directly on the dashboard. I'm going to walk through a couple of things and what that looks like. So if you take a look at this from left to right, we'll kind of go. So obviously requester obviously is me. Phone number, it's always good to have it. You don't have to put the property ID in here. Obviously the property address, status type, nothing to do. Agent's name, you don't have to fill that in. You don't have to fill this in, this or this or this. Subscriber emails, this would be emails of people you would like to also be subscribed on this particular ticket. So if you had a spouse that you wanted to include, you would include their email here and they would be included on that. You'll put your name, you'll put provide me a suggested purchase price. What I would suggest that you do is reach out to me or my team when you're getting ready to write up an offer. Remember, we have data, we're putting in anywhere from 10 to 20 offers a day and sometimes more. So we have a pretty good idea what's happening dynamically in the market, where a lot of times, obviously, other agents or other people, you're not putting in that many offers, so you might not have that real-time data. The MLS of the property, you don't have to worry about that. The street address you'll need to do. You can just start this request and ask, hey, could you provide me with a price, a suggestion of price, if you haven't already done that. You could also go directly to your dashboard or back to the property search and request a property valuation. The only thing that we ask you to do is see the property first, because it does take time to work up a property valuation. A lot of clients also will like us to go through the disclosures. Now, we have some videos related to disclosures, including inspection reports, that will give you some analysis of what you might want to be looking for in those title reports, disclosures, and other inspection reports. But again, a lot of people would like us to take a look at them, and I'm happy to do that for people as well as other experienced team members. So street address of the property, obviously, that you're buying, you will need to put this in. Zip code, names that you would like them to appear on title. That means that if it's you and your spouse, you would list both names here. The amount to be offered, this can be adjusted. So you might put in a preliminary price. Remember, we're going to be reaching out to the listing agent, trying to check competition as soon as this make an offer form comes in, and trying to provide you feedback. Remember, some agents are good and provide feedback. Some agents aren't and don't provide feedback or are out busy doing other things. Remember, a lot of agents are part-time. So, but this can be adjusted. Not only can it be adjusted before we write the offer, but during the offer process as we get information back to you. Next step would be the buyer's email, buyer 1 email, buyer 2 email. The escalation clause. Escalation clauses are clauses that say that you're going to start at a certain price on a property. Let's assume I was going to start at $1 million on this property. And it says that I'm going to go up $5,000 increments all the way up to whatever my max price is. So I'm going to escalate this up all the way by $5,000 all the way up to my max price. So I'm going to say I'm going to start at $1 million and I'm going to go to, let's say $1,025,000 or whatever that max price is will be the amount that I'm putting in here. So I'm going to say my max price is $1,050,000 and I'm going to start at the purchase price. You can put notes in here, i.e. start at the purchase price if you want to do that. You might want to start at a little bit higher above purchase price, especially if it's a competitive offer. I do want to say that these are typically in Washington only or Southern California. Majority of other areas don't accept escalation clauses. It's not that they can't, it's that the majority of agents simply don't understand them. So they won't understand how an escalation clause works. But let's say the purchase price was $1 million. I would basically start at purchase price or $1 million and go up to $1,050,000 and $5,000 increments. What that means is that if an offer were to come in at $1,025,000, my offer would automatically increase $5,000 to $1,030,000. In this situation, whenever we put in escalation clauses into an agreement, the person, the listing agent would have to share the competing offer. So whatever that competing offer looked like, they would have to share that offer with us and show us this is the offer that escalated us. Termite Section 1 clearance, typically California and Arizona. Other areas, don't have huge termites, like Washington obviously doesn't have huge termite. Washington sewer capacity fee. This is a tax put on new construction. So if the property that you're putting an offer in on typically is new, it would have a sewer capacity fee attached to it. Okay, so you'd want to know what you're assuming there. Seller to pay home warranty. Typically only California. Most other places don't use home warranties, but again, up to you. You can put it into any contract. Contingent on inspection. So this is the typical first contingency. Now, if a home has a inspection report, often we can use that inspection report by going through it. I have a lot of experience not only buying and selling homes, but I built 3 homes from the ground up, ran those jobs, and we're constantly looking. I probably looked at over 3,000 inspection reports in my time. So again, have some experience to help you through that. But if you wanted to get your own inspection, that's where you would make it contingent upon inspection. What that basically states is that you have the right to inspect the property, and if you don't like what's happening with the property, let's say you get an inspection report that is back that you don't approve of, you can ask for repairs, credits, or cancel the transaction. If they don't cancel the transaction, if you don't cancel the transaction and the seller's willing to do repairs and you agree to that, you'll move forward with the transaction. If you decide to remove this contingency, let's say you decide to remove it, you're waiving the right to inspect the property, and you're also waiving the right to ask for any repairs or credits. There's 2 types of inspection contingencies. One is passive. One is a inspection contingency that you have to remove through a actual addendum or something to that effect. The CR1, for example, would be in California. So in Washington, for example, Arizona, Texas, most states have passive waivers. That means if you have a 10-day inspection contingency, if you don't cancel the transaction or come to an agreement with the seller in that period of time, you will waive that contingency. So you want to be mindful of those timelines, and we'll be mindful of them as well for you. We've never lost the earnest money in the inspection contingency. So, and that's over 3,500 transactions. So contingent on financing, this means that you're going to get a loan on the property. Pretty much all states operate the same here. It says that I'm going to make a good faith effort to get the loan. And if I've made a good faith effort and I can't get a loan, I get my earnest money back. Remember, when you're putting an offer in, right? When you're putting an offer in, you're going to be putting up somewhere around 3 to 5%. And if you wanted to make it a stronger offer, you're going to make this number even bigger, right? The bigger the earnest money, the stronger your offer will look. But so this is the money that you have at risk. So if I were to remove my inspection contingency, or let's say I failed to respond to the inspection contingency in that timeline, then I don't have the right to get out of the contract based on inspection. And if I wanted to try to, because of this, and I had waived it, then I could lose this earnest money. Okay, so this is the money that you have at risk. If you're making it contingent upon financing, again, it says, I'm going to make a good faith effort. And if I make a good faith effort and I can't get a loan and I've done everything, I've fulfilled my contractual agreement, in some situations, there are things that you have to do. I have to make loan application within 5 days. So there's certain timelines that you might have to hit inside of that finance contingency. But if I hit all those and I can't get a loan and I'm contingent upon financing, I would get my earnest money back, or I should. Appraisal contingency. This says that my lender is going to appraise the property. And if for some reason my lender says the property is worth less than the purchase price, let's say I buy it at $1,050,000 and the appraisal comes back in at $1 million, right? If I'm contingent upon appraisal, I have the right to ask the seller to lower the price to the appraised value. If they don't do that, I can cancel the transaction and I get my earnest money back. I also can negotiate during this time. So let's say the seller says, no, they came in, it was appraised at $1 million, and we are in contract at $1,050,000. There could be a possibility of a negotiation during that time frame as well. So if I waive my financing contingency, my inspection contingency, in my appraisal contingency, I'm basically telling the seller, I'm willing to give up this $50,000 if for any reason I can't close. So you want to be mindful of those things. There's ways that we protect ourselves, because if you're in an environment where it's heavily competitive and you want to put in the best offer, that means that the highest price is going to win, and the offer that has the least amount of contingencies. So if I'm removing all of these, how do I protect myself as much as I can? And the way that I can do that is reviewing the inspection reports. It's not perfect, but I can get a rough idea. Looking at the purchase price and understanding what type of risk I might have based on current sales. And again, we can help you out with that. It will not be perfect, and you can get bad appraisers. Believe me, we've appealed lots of appraisals. Some of them we win, some of them we don't, but appraisers, a lot of them, unfortunately, when I say a lot, I should say 20% of them are just very bad and will come up with bad appraisers. So there's going to be some risk if you're doing that, but we can get an idea of what that might look like. And then your financing contingency, you're going to talk with your lender and you're going to make sure that you have the finances to get the loan, so that if you're removing these contingencies, you are pretty darn sure that you're going to be able to close, thus protecting your earnest money. Remember, I've talked about one of the other things that people will often do to make the offer. Let's say we're in a competitive environment where we have 5 other offers on the property. Well, a lot of people will release this earnest money to the seller immediately upon mutual acceptance. What that means is that normally this gets held in escrow, and if instead of it being held in escrow, it's going to be released to the seller. It's going to go to escrow and go directly to the seller before you even close on the property. Now, what does that do? Well, what it does is it gives the seller this incentive to accept your offer, because they're getting money in their pocket right away. And they know where normally this would go into escrow. And let's say you did remove all of your contingencies, right? You removed these contingencies and you decided not to close or couldn't close for some reason. The seller should get your earnest money, but they would have to go to mediation to get it if you didn't release it to them. So this is a way, again, to tell the seller, hey, I'm so secure I'm going to close. I'm going to release this earnest money to you right away. Then the loan is typically going to be conventional. Typically 30 days from closing is the closing date, but check with your lender. Sometimes they can do it quicker. And then as far as the expiration date, it really determines on when they're reviewing it or when you want them to give them enough time to respond. So if I'm putting an offer in, do I want to give them an hour? Of course, I want to give them more time, but I may want to give them a shorter time frame to respond. If, for example, I'm putting an offer in at noon, they should be able to respond that day. And we'll check with the listing agent if that's a problem, but we typically would like to get a response. Remember, if it's not contingent or if offer is way underneath the market and you're putting an offer in, there's not a huge incentive, or they're not really compelled to make an offer or counter offer that quickly, because they don't have to accept it. And if they're going to counter, it's a new offer. These are additional notes. You can attach any documents that you want. Obviously, typically your proof of funds and your pre-approval letter will be attached here into our secure portal here, and then you'll simply submit the ticket. That's basically it. Then the negotiation starts, and we can talk about that in the next segment.